So in this video we are going to be continuing to take a look at a scenario where civilization starts over. We are now in episode 46 of the series, and in the last episode we saw multiple pretty major events happen, and it's really starting to shape up the aspects of the Cold War. We saw the collapse of Carthage, we saw more decolonization, now there is only two mainland African colonies, and we also saw the Cold War ramp up with nuclear tensions rising, and we saw India add these two South American countries to their alliance that they found out that the USB was planning to invade, and in order to not only gain influence in the USB's region and also to weaken their power, they added them to the Triangle Alliance, just like so. And yeah, that's basically what happened last episode, and we will be building off of that more in this episode. But if you do end up enjoying this episode, please make sure to like and subscribe. We are starting to get really close to 2,000 subscribers, so any support is really greatly appreciated. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. So the very first thing I want to talk about is the nuclear bombs. In the last episode, I didn't actually do like an update for the number of nuclear bombs. I forgot to but it's pretty good timing now because the USB has actually just developed their first nuclear bomb, which I'll show in a minute. But in regards to India, this is not just this episode. In the last episode and in this episode, they had been developing nuclear bombs, and now they have a total of 12 nuclear bombs, which is actually a pretty big arsenal. Now, in terms of how powerful these bombs are, they are pretty similar to the Fat Man bombs. The one dropped on, I think Fat Man was Nagasaki. So they are decently powerful, and that is how many bombs they create. And with the USB, they managed to finish their nuclear bomb creation. They started developing it when they found out that India had their own, and at this point, the USB has developed 3 nuclear bombs, so a lot smaller of an arsenal than the Indians. Also, a thing to note, the USB's bombs are a lot weaker than India's bombs. They're only about half as strong because they had to kind of rush their nuclear development. They're really lacking in nuclear technology, so India is ahead for a while. But now I want to focus on something that isn't really going to be shown on the map, but it's more so just part of the lore, and that is actually going to be the space race. Now, I haven't really talked about any space exploration yet, but the space race is a thing that's happening all throughout the world. There are a lot of countries kind of competing with each other. There's really no like one dominant space power, like really highly developed in space technology. It's kind of led by India and China. These two countries are really going in on space. China at this point has the most advanced space kind of industry or like research. They have like high tech rockets. They have actually put a man in space. Oh, also, if anyone's wondering what the year is, we are currently in the year 1953. But anyway, now we will be moving back down to events on the actual map. And the events we'll be looking at are actually going to be over here in Europe. Now, after World War II, both Sweden and Poland, they were losing members and they were kind of seen as the main cause of World War II. To be honest, they pretty much were. And it's officially been 15 years since the end of the war, and that means that they are now going to be released from occupation. They were to be held occupied for 15 years and then released. And yeah, that's exactly what's going to be happening. The first country to be released is Sweden. They are released on the 14th of March 1953. And yeah, just like that, Sweden is back. Except now they're a lot weaker, and they have very heavy army limitations. Next up, 5 days later, Poland will be released. Now, the reason that they weren't released on the same time is because with Poland it was a little bit different, but I will talk about that in a second. So Poland is going to go ahead and be released. However, the difference here is that because the countries occupying Poland were actually the countries that were on the border, unlike with Sweden, it was kind of like the top powers. Any country that occupied land out of Poland actually maintains a right to take any land that they want, and there are going to be 2 countries that will be doing this, and these 2 countries are going to be the Danish and Danzig. These 2 countries, they were kind of very salty of World War II because they were completely neutral, and they only got involved because Sweden and Poland invaded a bunch of neutral nations in order to secure full coastal control of the continent. And these 2 guys, they were not very happy about that at all. So first of all, the Danish will be taking this land right here, a pretty big chunk of land, also gives them this one major city right here. And Danzig is going to be taking this land right here. Now, notably, this isn't in their occupation zone. If they did take land out of their occupation zone, it would look a little bit weird. So I just decided to give them this. I'm sure the Danish will be completely fine with it. And just like that, Poland is now going to be fully released, as no other countries are going to be taking any land out of them. These other countries are kind of just chill. They don't. Well, I mean, I'm sure they hate Poland, but they kind of just don't really want to focus on having to assimilate any of this land. So Poland is going to be released just like this. They now don't have a coastline, and they're a lot weaker. Next up, we're actually going to be moving over to the Pacific Ocean because a pretty interesting event is going to be happening here that is kind of only caused due to a little bit of instability. So, over in Indonesia, Indonesia is a constitutional monarchy, and one thing that tends to happen with kings is that they die. The king of Indonesia died. He was the king for like 80 years. He came to the throne when he was 17, like all the way back in World War One. And yeah, he's been in charge for a while, but he finally dies. He was seen as one of the greatest kings in Indonesian history, led his nation through World War One, and even then brought his country back to the homeland of their peoples. But he has just died, and his son has taken control. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with his son. He's not like a bad king or anything. It kind of causes some instability in Indonesia, and it causes these three island chains over here to ask for their independence because the needs of these islands have kind of been sidelined by the needs of the actual mainland of Indonesia. Indonesia really has no problem with this. It has been kind of a pain supplying these areas, so they decide to just give it up so they can focus on kind of stabilizing themselves a little bit. So we see these brand new three countries pop up. Now, the colours won't really matter because they're really tiny, but I made this one over here dark blue. We have this dark purple one up here, and we have this dark red one right here. And this dark red one also has, if I can find them, these over here. Obviously, with map projection, it looks like they're far away, but they're actually like really close. So they will be granted control of that. And yeah, so not too big an event there, but it's still pretty notable on the map. But now we're going to be moving over to Central Asia because a pretty interesting event is going to be taking place over here. Now, throughout the history of this Wixo, Central Asia has been a pretty interesting place. In the first half, it was dominated by empires such as Baikal and then later Neo-Baikal. After it was released from Neo-Baikal, it was made up of a bunch of really big, unstable countries, and this was kind of why, in the modern day, Central Asia is such an unstable region. And focusing in on Central Asia and this instability, we're actually going to be looking at this brownish country right over here. This brown country is not in the Council of Nations, so they are already really struggling. Like with these two countries over here, they also aren't that stable, but they are receiving aid. But with this guy, he is completely on his own, so he's kind of cooked. And we really see this as we see a very large breakaway over here. If we take a look at the religion layer, we can see that this country is basically split in three. This is like the light orange, or the offshoot of the orange religion. They want their own ethno-state, so they are going to go ahead and break away. Now, they aren't a theocracy, but they kind of just have different ideals, so they'll be breaking away. And also, I forgot to show, but this puts these guys as the dark red colour as they are actively collapsing. Oh, also, if anyone was wondering, this is what the new Northern African stability layer looks like. But anyway, back over to this breakaway state, they managed to quickly capture this second major city over here. And it's actually going to be getting even worse for this country, because this group over here isn't going to be the only group breaking away. These guys declaring their own independence kind of did a domino effect, where now a bunch of other different groups that are also kind of oppressed, I guess, also want to break away. The dark red religion over here, which is kind of like the more southern regions, they break away down here as this dark green country, quickly capturing this city, although this city is probably in support of these guys. And if you thought it couldn't get any worse, well, there's actually going to be a country tag teaming as the anarchists who want to connect up with their exclave. Now, the exclave of the anarchist country, it's basically its own separate thing. It's kind of disingenuous to colour this as the anarchist colour. This country up here does not have any control over this exclave. It's just this area is like just chaos. there's just a bunch of warring clans in this area, and they want to connect up to it because despite the fact they are anarchists, they do want to have stable control over their own territory. So they quickly invade into this land, and I'm going to colour this as invasion colour as well because they basically just invade it. And they quickly continue to move around, capturing another major city right here. And with the dark green team capturing the capital of the brown team, it's basically just over for these guys. They surrender, and we can take a look at this peace treaty. And yeah, taking a look at this peace treaty, it's an absolute mess. Central Asia is just one big mess. That's a great way to describe it. We see the two new countries get their own independence. I'm going to make this one a little bit darker. The anarchists connect up with their exclave. The anarchists are known to have some border gore, but this is absolutely disgusting. And the main central government is now heavily weakened. And yeah, just big old mess in Central Asia as usual. But next up, we're actually going to be moving over to Egypt because a pretty interesting event is actually going to be taking place here. Because, well, when I said that when the USB found out about the fact that India has nuclear bombs, they kind of publicly went after India for this, and like I said, this let the whole rest of the world find out that nuclear bombs are a real thing, and I did say a lot of countries had started to develop their own nuclear programs, and there is one country, Egypt, who has, well, they finished their nuclear program, and they have actually managed to successfully construct the first nuclear bomb. Yes, that's right. Egypt has nukes, very scary. And they actually do a really bad job of covering this up. India and the USB have a stupid amount of spies in Egypt. Egypt is very imperialist. They want to retake their old land, you know. So there are a lot of spies in this country. And immediately, India and the USB are like, oh my days, can you calm down for 5 seconds? We leave you alone to go and mess about in your civil war, and now you make a bomb that's powerful enough to blow up an entire city. What are you doing? This once again leads to a very big diplomatic fallout where now not only India and the USB are throwing hands, Egypt is involved as well, and all three of these guys just start arguing with each other, and it's a whole mess. If you thought the diplomatic situation between India and the USB was bad, this is like 10 times worse. And then after a while, Egypt is like, okay, yeah, we're actually sick of this. We're gonna do something really like just mental. And then they go over to this nice little red country over here. This red country had just joined the Council of Nations, which is going to make the USB even more mad about what Egypt's about to do. Because Egypt goes over to this red country and they're like, hello, we have some issues and we're going to take our problems out on you. Yeah, we're going to invade you. Yeah, welcome to Egypt. You're part of us now. And what's that? We really don't like India and the USB. Okay, yeah, we're going to do something. What happens when you drop a massive bomb with radiation on a city? Boom. Egypt, well, they nuked the capital of the Red Sudanese team. Yeah, that's. I'm sure you are very happy about this. But Egypt kind of just wanted to make a show for the USB. Basically, this is just them symbolizing to the USB, hey, you have no power over us, we're going to do what we want to do. If we want to develop nukes, we can. And if we want to invade weak, poor little countries that cannot defend against us, we will as well. The USB is going to respond to this by declaring that they do not want to share any more diplomatic relations with Egypt and not wanting to kind of get left behind. India is going to do the same thing. And all of a sudden, this has turned into a three-way Cold War. Very quickly, the Cold War has just escalated to a point where the USB and India never could have expected. Seeing an opportunity to gain some of their old land back, the Sudanese team is also going to be invading into the Red Country. And when they meet the capital, they discover something pretty bad, and that is the radiation from the nuclear bombs is like awful. Egypt didn't really know. I mean, they knew there would be some radiation, but the radiation on this capital is killing like soldiers. Soldiers are getting cancer. It's really bad. And Egypt is like, okay, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have done that. Yo, are bad. But either way, the Red Sudanese country is going to go ahead and capitulate, and we can go ahead and take a look at this peace treaty. So, taking a look at this peace treaty, we can see some pretty interesting things here. So, first of all, the country has been cut in two. The Sudanese got this southern land, and Egypt got the north. Hang on one sec. Okay, I think that looks a bit better. I think I might have given Egypt one too many provinces. I think that looks a bit better. But I would like to draw your attention now to this beautiful green gas cloud. This is the radiation. And yeah, this radiation layer, I don't know if I'm going to keep it. I know Laser Tase has this as well. No, I did not copy him, I swear. Do not come after me, Laser Tase. I was going to do this for a while now. But this kind of just shows where radiation is. If you're in this area, you're probably dying. And something very bad is going to happen to Egypt. We have some wind currents coming up through the Red Sea, and this actually blows some of this radiation up north into Egypt, and it actually hits this Egyptian major city. And Egypt finds out about this, and they're like, "Oh dear, we should probably have not done that." It then continues on for a bit until it kind of dies down, and then it's kind of just retreats to the actual nuclear blast site, which is down here. And after a few more months, it is going to dissipate. I'm assuming they dropped the bomb like in the air, kind of like in Hiroshima. The bomb was dropped in the air, so the radiation didn't like seep into the ground. That's kind of what happens here. So yeah, a pretty interesting little event there. Also, Egypt did build a second nuke while this is going on, so they still technically do have one nuclear bomb. But yeah, the USB is really not liking this. Now, multiple other countries have nuclear bombs, and Egypt was not the only country with a secret nuclear program. Next up, we will be focusing on a much more peaceful event, and that is going to be countries throughout Africa actually deciding to join in on the Council of Nations. There are a lot of countries that are kind of setting themselves up, and once they have finished setting their governments up, they decide to join in on this organisation to help them out a little bit. We see the Cape country down here join. We see the Angolan country join. We see this light country over here join. And we see this green country over here join. And there are a few other countries throughout Africa that are also in the joining process. But for now, these are going to be the countries joining in, just like so. Oh, also, when these three were given independence, they had to join the council. So these three island nations are also in the council, just like so. But there is actually going to be one final event in this video, and it's actually going to be pretty important in the next, and it is going to be greatly escalating tensions between two of the participants in the Cold War. And since I'm not looking at the USB here, it's probably pretty obvious which two of these countries it's going to be between. Because over in the Gujarat country, or the Kathiawar country, whatever you want to call this, I'm just going to call it the Mint country, a pretty interesting event is going to be taking place. The government of this country, they are pretty pro-Indian, but the people are not. They had been subjugated by India for a while, and after World War II, when India released these guys, they were a puppet state, but India decided to let them go of their own free will. They gave these guys an extremely pro-Indian government. Like, these guys are certified glazers. They are glazing the hell out of India every day they can. It's like they go to India and they're like meeting with the Indian king, and they're like always hugging and stuff. It's like really creepy. But yeah, number one Indian glazer. But the people are not happy with this. The people hate India, like I just said. It's really bad. The people, they do not like India here. And when some interesting people with guns arrive in this country, and with a stupid amount of money, all of a sudden the people have exactly what they need to rise up against this government. And this group is going to break out all over the Mint country. These guys, they are absolutely being funded by a foreign power. Oh damn, I wonder who it is. I wonder who has currently really bad relations with India, and who wants to undermine them. I honestly, you know what? Very hard to guess. Anyone in the comments, if you do want to guess who is doing this, please do let me know. But in all seriousness, this rebellion is going to start spreading around pretty quickly, and it's very clear that the population is in support of this thing, as multiple different groups, not even being funded by said mystery country, are going to pop up, and all of a sudden, India is like, yeah, no, no, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you. They start an invasion into the Mint team, just like so. But that is actually where I'm going to be ending off this video. I will be discussing that war in the next episode. It's not going to be too big of a war, but I don't want this episode to be too long, so that is where I'm going to be leaving it off. If you did enjoy this episode, which I really hope you did, this sets up a lot of stuff for the Cold War, and I really hope you guys are excited for the rest of the Cold War. But if you did enjoy the video, please be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.